This is Brian Allman with the Gem State Chronicle with today's, well, it's going to be a few minutes. It's not a daily minute, but I just wanted to share with you a new feature that I've put together with the help of some of my AI tools that have been really indispensable in expanding the abilities of what I can do at the Gem State Chronicle. So without further ado, head over to gemstatechronicle.com. You'll see a little pop-up asking you to subscribe to the Substack newsletter. Join, the thousands of Idahoans who are signed up for updates. In addition to my columns, my analyses, you can get connected to op-eds and press releases and just keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening in Idaho politics. But if you're already subscribed, go ahead and click past that. And there we go. You see the latest columns. It's been a few days since mine. I've been busy with a lot of stuff. A new baby at home, not the least of which. Check out Dorothy Moon's op-ed, Art DeRosa. If you need something for dinner, check out Savannah DeHayes' monthly column. But what we're here to see today is head over to Idaho Insider. Tell Firefox's chatbot to go away. If you haven't been to Idaho Insider for a while, it's been completely redesigned. I could spend hours going through all the different tools and links on here. We've got the 3 branches of government. We've got quick tools like this. Find your legislators, just put in your address. I'm not recording or storing your address anywhere. It's just going straight through to a Census Bureau program through an API that checks, takes your address and checks exactly what legislative district you're in. It actually works if you're outside Idaho too. So if you're living in Washington or California or Colorado and you're planning to move to Idaho, then you can figure out where your legislative district is going to be. You can also email the legislature from here, choose a specific committee or a district or just one specific legislator, and you can do that all right there. You can also do all these other tools. Go check it out. It's very cool. At the very bottom, there's external tools. These are things that I did not make, but I think are very helpful, and I have linked them all here. You can register to vote. You can see results. You can see current legislation during the session. Obviously, this would go back to the 2026 session. The Gem State Briefs Legislative Tracker. It's very helpful. Town Hall Idaho. Economic dashboards at Division of Financial Management. But what we're going to look at today is called the Budget Calculator. This is a brand new tool I just put together. So every year, in case you need a refresher on how this works, the governor submits an idea for a budget, and he takes that, he builds that upon the requests from all the different executive branch agencies, and Department of Education and Department of Corrections and the state police, health and welfare, all these different agencies. They say, okay, here's how much money we need, and the governor puts it all together and submits it to the legislature, and then the legislature picks it apart. JFAC, the Joint Finance Appropriations Committee, takes it apart. They hear presentations for the first few weeks of the session, then they start debating exactly how they're going to frame the new budget for the upcoming fiscal year. The fiscal year for the Idaho State Legislature, Idaho State Government, is July through June. So once they get out of session in early April, they have a budget ready for the upcoming fiscal year. So this year, in 2026, they were debating and preparing the 2027 fiscal year budget. Once they're all done, all the budget bills have been crafted by JFAC, passed the committee, passed the House floor, the Senate floor, signed by the governor. They become the budget for Idaho State Government. That's all put together in the fiscal year 2027 Legislative Fiscal Report. And that tells you the final disposition of all these budgets. So what I did is I took that fiscal report and turned it into a dashboard with sliders. So you can take these budget numbers and move them up and down and see how it affects the whole bottom line. You look up here at the top, general fund revenue. Now remember, there's 3 funds that power the Idaho state budget. General fund is what comes out of your tax dollars. Personal income taxes, corporate income taxes, and a share of state sales taxes. Now, some sales taxes go to cities, counties, they get spread out throughout the state, but a big chunk of them go to the state itself. You might be wondering, where's property taxes? I don't see property taxes on here. Well, that is because property taxes fund local things. Your property taxes fund your school districts, your cities, your counties, your mosquito abatement districts, your sewer districts, your library districts, your fire districts, etc., etc. So those are not on here. They don't actually fund state government. So this is mostly concerned with general fund because that's what JFAC and the legislature are concerned with. So this year, they expected $5.639 billion in revenue. and they have appropriated $5.621 billion in revenue for the general for appropriations in the general fund. Now that's just a guess. Remember what happened last year. Revenues, taxes started coming in lower than they expected. So the governor slashed spending 3%, except for education, and the legislature built upon that by slashing it an additional 2%, an additional 1% for fiscal year 2026-27. And we came in fine. We came in $250 million under budget, which is great. I'm happy that our government is taking the time to cut the budget. And this will help you understand what they have to do. So this ending balance is more than the difference between those two numbers. That's because, as it says here, there's $67.3 million in leftover cash from the previous year, and then $63.6 million in one-time fund transfers. They had bits of money sitting here and there, and they moved it around. So the bottom line, the projected bottom line is just under $150 million. Now, you can change that. First, you can change revenue, and as these note, JFAC can't change revenue. That is something that can be changed by the legislature. They can raise or lower taxes. Although here in Idaho, if they tried to raise taxes, they'd get run out of town on a rail, so they can lower taxes. Although, if you're a Democrat, you just go like this, right? Beam, bam, bam. Hey, look at all the money we have to spend now. $2.8 billion. That's a bargain. But I digress. So yeah, you can see what the effect of lowering the individual income tax rate would be. In fact, you could lower that to 5% and still come in under budget based on the current projections. Of course, we won't know until the next few months exactly where we stand on those projections. Up till then, it's just a guess. You can click this Reset All button at any point at the top. Let's say you want to exempt groceries from sales tax. That's a big deal for a lot of people. Well, let's just click it, and there's really no way to know exactly how much money that would return to Idaho taxpayers and therefore reduce from the budget revenues. So there's a lot of people who guess. This guess is about $450 million. It's just a guess. Retailers don't track exactly how much money people spend on grocery taxes because they're wrapped up in other things. You go to Winco and you buy your hamburger meat and your bread and your produce, but you also buy, say, a package of toilet paper. You buy a bottle of wine. That would be not exempt under most proposals to eliminate the grocery sales tax. Maybe the retailers could start doing that and we could actually get accurate numbers. I don't know, but... So this is just a guess, and now we've got the shortfall, and then you have to go find places to cut. Now, of course, if you cut sales tax entirely, no, sales tax is up there. There you go. Of course, that makes it moot. This makes no changes if sales tax is 0%. Below that is the food tax credit. That was implemented when the sales tax was first created. That was originally $10 a year per dependent when you filed your taxes. I did a whole article on this a couple of years ago on the history of the grocery tax credit. Originally, it wasn't called the grocery tax credit, but there was an understanding among legislators. I found newspaper articles from the late 1960s, early 1970s, where they referred to it colloquially as a grocery tax credit. It wasn't put into law as that until the mid-2000s, and now it's in there as the food tax credit, and it's all the way up to $155 per person. So if you have, like me, a family of 8, that's 155 times 8 to offset the taxes we pay on groceries, which for our family, that actually more than offsets it. So thank you for the subsidy, I suppose. But you can adjust that here on the website. You can increase it. You can get rid of it. You can see what the effect of getting rid of the food tax credit and exempting groceries from sales tax. According to this estimate, that would actually reduce the amount of money going into the state revenues. Which, again, if you're conservative and you want to lower taxes, but what about all the things it pays for is not usually a good excuse. But the beauty of what this does, let's reset it and now go into the spending, is it gives you an opportunity to go in there and just make changes to the spending and see how it affects the state budget. Education is the largest, or second largest actually, I should say, line item. Public school support is $3.1 billion. Most of that is general fund. A bit of that is federal funds. You can reduce the federal funds and see what happens. Obviously, that doesn't affect the ending balance of our general fund. However, it affects the ending balance of what is being paid for in education. And you can click on Show What This Funds, and this tells you everything that this budget item is part of. You can hide that. You can show legislative conditions. See, this program's fiscal year 2027 budget bill already amended Idaho code or session law, not just appropriated dollars. A hypothetical cut of similar scope would likely need the same. So it goes into detail of exactly how you would change things, whether it's something you can just change a line item in JFAC or whether you need to actually pass a policy bill to change it. And finally, the actual bills that were passed, the budget bills that affect this budget, you can click on right here. So there you go, Public School Support, Senate Bill 1362. The legislative website's been a little slow this summer. Maybe they're doing maintenance on it or something. There we go. It's slowly loading. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Maybe I'll just edit this out. There we go. So there you go. Senate Bill 1362. You can see the statement of purpose, which gives you the fiscal information. This was Senator Cook, Representative Petsky, both out of JFAC. Tells you the original appropriations. Rescissions is cuts. Cuts are good, right? Removal of one-time expenditures. Then the fiscal year 2027 base budget. Personnel. Personnel went up, but personnel benefits, that is. Contract inflation, statewide. So anyway, that tells you where that goes. And you can do that for, there's numerous bills sometimes that affect a single budget item. Sometimes they'll go back and change something. They'll do a trailer bill, or they'll break it into different parts. Colleges and universities, community colleges, Office of the State Board of Education. So that's education. You can drop down here to Health and Human Services. Department of Health and Welfare is, the main department is actually not that much money. I mean, relatively speaking, $220 million is a lot to me, and probably to you. But it pales in comparison to this line item, the Division of Medicaid. Medicaid is the single largest budget item in the entire Idaho state budget. Paying for other people's medical care is our largest budget item. And a big chunk of that, or a reasonably sized chunk of that, I should say, is Medicaid expansion. That covers able-bodied working age adults who just fall under a certain income threshold. Now, there's some interesting things here with what's called the FMAP, which is the term used to describe how much money the federal government pays versus how much the state government pays. Regular Medicaid, it's 60-something percent, and then Medicaid expansion, it's 90%. That's one of the reasons they were able to sell it to the people of Idaho as a ballot initiative. They're saying, look, it's free money. We only have to pay 10 cents on the dollar. Of course, it's still our tax money. It still contributes to inflation. It's still... there's all sorts of problems, but that's for a different conversation. But here you go. You can adjust it and see how it affects the bottom line. Notice how the federal line is pinned to the state line. That's because of that FMAP. And it does the math behind the scenes. Anyway, so that's that. And then there's also public safety, Department of Corrections. That was a big one. We do need money for Idaho State Police. We do need money for the jails, especially when the state is running out of room in the jails. And so they're essentially paying rent to county jails to, have state prisoners be incarcerated in the county jails. But it's never quite as much as what it actually costs. So in a way, county taxpayers are subsidizing the state budget for corrections. That's a whole nother thing. Judicial branch, juvenile corrections, Idaho State Police. So those are all, natural resources, economic development, and general government. See the Attorney General's budget. Attorney General Labrador, he needs more money. State Controller, he's fine. Office of the Governor, we can reduce that a little bit. Legislative branch, they need a little bit more money. Lieutenant Governor, why do we even have a Lieutenant Governor's office anyway? I'm reading a autobiography of Robert Smiley, who was a 3-term Republican governor in the 50s and 60s. And he actually had a proposal to get rid of the office of Lieutenant Governor at one point, but it never went through. That's actually not very much money. It's like $300,000. The Lieutenant Governor himself doesn't make much. He's a part-time, but he has one full-time chief of staff. So anyway, you can read all sorts of stuff, some caveats and some explanations here. But I invite you to check this out. Remember, go to gemstatechronicle.com, click on Idaho Insider, and come down to the budget calculator tool. Check it out. If you find any weird quirks, let me know, and we can get those fixed. But yeah, this data comes directly from the fiscal year 2027 Legislative Report. Of course, the whole purpose of all this is that the state constitution requires a balanced budget every year. So this is the numerical puzzle, the mathematical puzzle that our legislators have to tackle every single year, year in, year out. So to get a little taste of what they have to do, go check out the budget calculator at the Gem State Chronicle, and I'll catch you later.